fragmented. Like, you know how people, when they're talking to different people about different things,
Yeah.
you can see a shift in kind of person.
Yeah.
I don't like
Oh
that.
yeah.
So I want to be all completely aligned. There is an episode of this with Rick and what, Morty?
Yeah.
Oh
Rick and
yeah.
Morty.
They get all fragmented, and then yeah, that is basically it. You are talking because you know that they won't know it, or they won't hear about it. You're talking about it in a way, and if you go to talk to them face to face, that would be an entirely different thing. Well, luckily we had that same conversation with him, so it's all fine. But that's the biggest practice for me personally. Just
Yeah,
not create fragmentation of myself.
that makes sense. Yeah, I mean, this stuff is like yeah, there's a social norm against speaking behind other people's back or whatever the hell it is. But if
Yeah.
you are in alignment on what you're telling him, part of it is it like, I don't know this person, so
Yeah. That's also part of it.
it's tough for me to like, my stance, if we're recording it versus not, like, I am less likely to like really push hard, um because I've never met him, I've never talked to him, so this kind of thing. So it's there's a distinction there where pushing into the model that we have of a type of person who exhibits these kinds of things is different than pushing
That
into
person.
talking about
Yeah.
a specific relationship. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, anyways, it's fine. I think we can play that one by ear. Like, yeah, like I mean, so, well, we're back into territory where we're sort of talking about general principles of, like, reducing self-deception, or, and this practice, like you're talking about, like, I've started actually, I did watch back through some of our videos, and I'm like, all right, I'm a spaz, and like a spaz in a particular kind of way, where, like, so it's interesting though, watching back through the tapes to see where frictions arise, and how I, like, am moving through them, or how, like, where there might be misunderstandings, and where I'm hearing one thing, and somebody else is not here, this kind of thing. And if you can slow it down and watch it back third party, as if you were just a character in a play, then you get a lot of information out of that. So I've started doing voice notes this way, where I get excited about a particular idea or something like that. And in the layer, when I'm excited, I talk to myself about what I think is happening. And then I come back to the voice note later, and I can listen to what I'm excited about, where I don't know what I'm talking about, because you can hear it in your voice, like where I'm stretching myself, where I'm clear and centered. And it's a good, like, research technique, because in the places where I'm not, I mean, there's a bunch of different stuff in there, but in the places where I'm not sort of certain, or I'm reaching, or I'm using language that isn't right yet, that's a good
like
place to, like,
pushing too much. Yeah.
yeah,
Like
like,
trying too hard. Yep.
yeah. And it's, like, how clear am I on this, and how do I know that I'm clear? And then the other part of this practice is sharing this stuff with other people who can check you, be like, that's not how that works. But you're right in this way, or you're on the right track, or this is kind of how I see it, or whatever. So I think that personally, I only want to work with people who have these kinds of practices. I think that they are essential for the like, to come into relationship, like in a peer relationship. And if people aren't doing this, you can hear it in the way that they talk, in the way that they like approach information, in the level of humility that they exhibit. They tend to, there's no specific set of these practices, but I think that there is a difference there. So I don't know, that's a starting place, maybe.
Yeah, it's so eye-opening. I did it briefly before, but that was only internally with client calls. And for me to find out what things can be systemized the way that I talk about 3 drops, the part that
Mm-hmm.
kind of makes people's eyes go big. I should probably repeat them in all calls. And I'm not the way that I'm communicating or the way that I'm saying things is not really what I'm hearing in my head when I'm thinking about saying it, but when I say it, it's completely misaligned.
Yeah.
So it helps a lot. I don't think chat conversations are the same, because so much of your body language go into the words that you're saying and the way
Yeah.
you say it, like where you
Yep.
pause
Yep.
and so it's been very, very, very eye-opening for me to
Mm-hmm.
just watch.
Yeah, each medium has a different layer of information that it's producing, and the highest fidelity is in person. So, but yeah, audio gives you something, video and audio gives you something, just pure text gives you something, right? And each has like a sort of, they're good at different things. The kind of idea that we're playing with is what happens when you layer all of those on top of each other and like do that in a group. Like you can get a pretty good view, and if you have other people's perspectives, you can start to orient towards some area of thinking that's you're a lot clearer in that sense, or you have a better direction for things that are extremely uncertain. But yeah, the practice is basically like, if you are operating from a singular perspective, like, and the way that you see the world, by nature, you cannot see what you can't see.
Yeah.
And you can work on practices to better understand how you are seeing, right? But without other people, it is impossible. Like this marketing thing, right? It's a blind spot because for whatever reason, that type of thing hasn't appealed to you in the type of way that it has to other people, right? So so what do they know about the world? And how can you like engage with people who have that perspective and potentially like exchange understandings for like make a trade with them based on a perspective that you have, right? Like how can you learn together about how to see the world, right? But that takes like meeting each other as peers, like coming into this thing as you're a novice in marketing and they're a novice in business or organization, whatever it is that you're offering them. And then when you can do this and then have some objective that you can work towards together, then you can start sensing the world like together effectively. So yeah, I don't know. This is
You have to
yeah,
start with yourself too. Like you need to be able
yeah,
to have these conversations with yourself. So it's interesting. Like I'm thinking about
yep,
like looking like at yourself or watching yourself in a video.
Yeah.
It's kind of intense, right? Like the first time you do
yeah,
it, or even like looking at a picture. Like some people they don't want to be in pictures. Like they can't see them.
yep,
Like
yep,
so, like small practices like that where you're willing to look at. I mean, it's looking at yourself. It's just interesting, like thinking about that, because I get
Yeah.
really self-conscious looking back at the tapes, if you will. Less so now, but yeah, like I kind of don't know how to look at them now. Like I'm not sure what I'm looking for. But if you can't even look at, like if you're not willing to do this or not take a look, that's sort of a red flag. Because how are you going to do that for other people? Like, because you can't,
yeah,
if you can't show up for yourself, you can't really show up for someone else. Or you can, but you're going to be doing it in a way that, yeah,
it's
without
partial,
full
yeah,
awareness or something. Yeah.
Yeah, it helps with acceptance of your own shortcomings in
Yeah.
such a kind of an easy way.
Yeah.
I
mm-hmm.
think just taking picture of yourself, and I mean I got interested in this whole thing of just being so careless about it by just watching influencers do it, because their biggest
Yeah.
strength is getting in front of a camera and then say what they think. That's the
Yeah,
hardest thing for most people, only because they've never practiced it, and I'm gonna put myself out there for being judged for whatever that person that is
Yep.
watching picture of what the life should be like, or what the person should act like.
Yep.
But once you get past that, you kind of accept yourself, and that kind of frees you from so many self-judgment that you have going on all the time. It's not that difficult either to kind of start the practice, to just do
Yeah.
stuff like.
So this is bringing up something that's interesting. So I've been thinking a lot about media and like the forms of media and how they work and what they offer. And so what the written word, so before the alphabet and the ability to write came about, we had orality, we had the ability to talk to each other, right? But nothing was recorded. So you had to use memory to do this. And this produced a style of thinking and a style of discourse that there was a lot of poetry, this kind of thing. Writing comes along, and then we can put some of that information down. We can store it. We can look at it. It allows science to become a thing, right? Because now we can objectively measure and see how things change over time. Like, we're no longer in the flow of things, but we lose something with that, right? There is an artistry, a sort of there's something that you lose in that, and there's a bunch of people who have written about this. So what we're finding now is that like, with the internet and multimedia and this format, we're able to do the same thing, but through orality, through recording video and then watching it back. That has never been possible throughout time. So this is a style of like sort of writing. Like, we can put this down. Other people can look at it. They can see how you are thinking about things, how you are working with things. And so the influencer version of this is sort of marketing centric. Like, this is what I think about this product. That's fine, right? But that's really shallow in depth, right? It doesn't always have to be shallow, but it is primarily shallow because you were trying to funnel people towards product or towards attention or something like that. This style of, or what we're playing with, is a function of like making, it's a style of writing, orality writing or something like, and it gives you the ability to study it, to understand the layers of depth that are being communicated. Anyways, that's coming together in this conversation, like, and then we can go watch this conversation again. Somebody else can watch this conversation at any time, right? It's like a book. Like, go look at it, study it, leave some notes, annotate it, make your own version of the thing, and then that can be part of the communication. The same way that in academia, people are doing this with books. There will also be an entertainment form of this, I think, that is like the novel, right? Like some version of this where you get the multi-perspectival view of different players in a scene or something like that. Anyways, so there's a bunch of possibility in this medium. I prefer it to writing.
Yeah. Because you are making something that you are very aware of. Same with designing, which is why I always wanted to do podcast for 3 drops or something very casual, because my love for this work came from just watching two guys in a like a studio making WordPress themes, and then they would jump on in front of a camera and talk about how the day went, and then they were talking about the most important things, like, we had this bug, we had to do the following to fix it, blah blah. But I'm sitting there all excited. I can see them work. How cool is that? I can sitting there working, and I can look at them while they're working, and I'm doing this all online. And that was the same thing when this, oh crap, what was the name? There was this app before, the website, where you could put a couple of seconds of short video. I don't even know what that was, and then it kind of looped. No, it's web. It was like Justin T, like that, like Justin TV.
Yep.
What an amazing thing. Like, I love those things. I want the about page of 3 drops, everybody's camera to be, that would be horrible thing to do. Yeah, so
I
many
think, well,
private.
so there's a practice here, right? Where like, and it does involve like individuals being like pretty strong in their agency, right? You have done individual practice to understand who you are and like where your limits are and what you're working on personally and this kind of thing. And that you do this for your whole life. That never stops, right? Um, and people for whom they have done a lot of this practice, you can tell in their sort of wisdom, in their ability to their maturity, effectively. If you get those types of people together, and you don't need to be, hyper wise or anything, but you do need to understand that this is a personal development thing, is a way of like understanding the reality of the world, or the realities of the world, the perspectives in the world. Um, but if you do this in like you were saying, like if I had the ability to look in on studios and watch people like interact and how they made the things, I would have lost my mind. Like, because you're basically in conversation with these people, right? You are watching how their minds work with each other, like how they come up with a thing. And if you can understand where it comes from, you can do it then. You can practice it. But if you only ever see the objects, the output, and not the process,
Yeah,
it's really hard to learn unless you're good at reverse engineering, which I am, but not everybody is great at that. So like being embedded in something, being around something, like and seeing how it's made can like give you a relationship to that thing, to see like, oh, I might be good at that part of it, or I can do this thing, right? Yeah. So that I
it's
think
it,
is yeah, it's just, and providing this in the public good is just a pay it forward service. Like it will come back to you. Yeah.
mm,
Yeah, I think part of what's unique about what we're doing and what people are doing, like in this space, not that we're the only people doing something like this, is
No.
that it's being done with an intention towards understanding.
Yep.
And so the wisdom aspect of it, the way that I see like what that means, and I sort of um touch on this a lot when the term wisdom comes up. What does that mean? So it's the removal of self-deception. Like we're trying to understand, like you said, Dave, like how things really are. And how do you do that? Like we're like it's intentional. We're coming to actually look at things. It's not just to repeat things that we already know how to do. We're trying to look at ourselves. We're trying to look at each other. We're trying to point out things that you might not have already seen. So there's something there. So like even getting a portal into how studios work is fine, but if you got a portal into how a studio works where they're in practice like this, that would be
Yeah.
insanely interesting. Because watching someone work who's just, I don't know, maybe their practice of work is not very self-aware, you could pick it apart. But if it was self-aware, you're going to get so much more information about what's going on. Yeah, I don't know what my point is there, but there's something there. I feel like I'm dancing around something.
it's more of a kind of, because that's what marketing is. And I keep thinking about, we are hiring a marketing manager, but in reality we are kind of clueless what a marketing manager should do, what the task should be. But just letting people come in and see the thing that you are making, how you are making it, and the thoughts that you have with yourself and then internally with the team is the marketing. Like there is nothing more
Yes.
meaningful marketing than
Yeah.
that. And with this example, like I wish I remember their name because they influenced me so much. They had this camera in an office and it seemed like a big garage. And there are like two brothers in South Africa.
Mm.
And they're making WordPress themes and they're talking about it and talking about all of the design. So they would come sit on the couch, talk about a thing, and then they would go and then do the work on behind the desks. And you know, when the thing comes out, you already know. You've been following the process of building this theme or whatever it is through the design and engineering all along, and it's so entertaining. When the product comes, you appreciate it because you know what went into it.
Yep.
I think branding and all those kind of now what I call like cheap marketing tricks are not as powerful as it was, because now
No.
everybody can create a brand from their home and it becomes a thing. Just the craft that goes into it is a
Yep.
differentiator, even though the result is pretty much like very similar. But then once, you know, this is a Chinese in a, you know, China factory, people are underpaid, and it just fucked up things that went in through the process of making it. And here is something handmade. People were happy while they were making it.
Yep.
So I don't think you value this a lot more than this. And this is, yeah, that is the type of a branding that I wanted to be implemented across the things that we do. It's just
So
very difficult.
It's a transparency and like how things are made, how things arise, like it's lineage, like seeing where things come from. There's something there. Yeah.
It's
So-
confidence again. I think just opening up OFC's Figma files would be an interesting thing to do.
Yeah.
I've been talking about it for the past 2 calls and internally as well. We just haven't been pulling ourselves towards like, do it, fuck it, like whatever happens, happens.
Yep.
I think it would be such an interesting thing that instead of us teasing you about what that is gonna come next, you'll see it. Look around. This is how we do the design work. We can't do it with clients, but we can do it with OFC. More things like that. Yeah.
So I think what you're pointing to, and I've had some experience of this in the philosophical studies that I'm doing, or the cognitive science studies. The academics and who are most effective are brilliant teachers, and they are giving you information in a way that you can take it on yourself and then think through it. So like think through it as a lens. So teaching is the thing here. This is how we did this. This is how we think about this. This is the philosophy of how we built this. Like, this is why it is good. This is why it is something that is useful to people. This is why, like, it comes out in the harmony that it does. This is why it's balanced, all of these kinds of things. And there are different formats that can be more or less entertaining because there are different teaching styles. But the more entertaining your teaching style, the more likely people are to so somebody who can teach extremely well, like who understands the material and can present the material and offer the material, is your best marketing, because it is coming from a place of true understanding. It is not coming from a place where you are, because the thing will sell itself. If it is of value, the value will scream through the teaching. So rather than having somebody who takes an object and tells you about all of its features and why it's beautiful and why it's nice, you talk about how it got that way. And this is a longer conversation. It's over time. You need to watch this. You need to embed it. You need to, and if you can go back and look at the lineage of conversation to show the depth of understanding, you can't fake that. You can't just manufacture that. Like, you can try, but it's a lot of work. If you're just doing it from authenticity, I can do this anytime. I can speak like this anytime. And you practice. This is what I'm looking for in our videos and in the kinds of things that I'm publishing. How can I be clearer about what I know or what I don't know? How can I enter into uncertainty and try to talk about it so that I can have people help me understand what I don't know, right? And in the case of describing, like, say, design ethos or ethics or practice or process, like, how can I bring forward like the perspective that I come from and what you can expect if you were to work with me as a designer, right? Like, what is important to me in like the design practice, and what does that produce, and why is that good for humans, or why is that good for clients, or whatever it is, which are the same thing. So this teaching thing is your best marketing, but teaching with an idea, like, this is where entertainment comes in, the skills and practices of entertainment and marketing, like through a teacherly like perspective. Because if you can combine those things, people will watch it in the same way that you did, where you're like, this is amazing, like, because you're learning, you're enacting things, your worldview is expanding, You are growing people. Like you're not narrowing them down into a mindset that will make them buy. You are opening them up to the
Yeah.
possibilities of working with you.
There's something here too that is more invitational and
Yeah.
not guarded. So usually what you see with marketing, like not usually, but the sort of textbook definition, sort of what I'm feeling into right now is this sort of sense of we have something that you don't have. Let us tell you about that. And it creates the status thing where you want to be in group. I want
Yeah.
to have that thing. I don't have that. There's another way of creating like status that I think is less guarded and more invitational, where
Yeah.
you might have something someone doesn't have, but it's not about exclusivity. It's about experience, I guess. There's a difference here that's nuanced. Yeah. So then it's not the haves and have nots. It's just there's something else here. There's a
It's
different division.
abundance versus scarcity.
Yeah.
Like it's not,
Okay.
you know, because you can prey on, like, if you don't have this, you're not going to be able to do what you need to do, right? Or you can go with the method is like, you need this thing to solve your problems, and if you don't have it, like, you're going to look like an idiot. I mean, that's implied, right? Or you can be like, come here and we will teach you how this works, right? Like, and we're experts at this because look at all of the things that we have done, right? And if you would like to,
yeah, choose for yourself. Like that's the like sort of
Yes.
transparency, like you're teaching so that people who like they're like, oh, that aligns with my way of thinking, or that is something like I would like to be more like, I can opt into it. Versus, yeah, I mean it's probably less tantalizing.
it tantalizes people who are coming to this in
It's
fullness with
it's
curiosity,
contextual. Yeah, it's
which
the abundance context versus scarcity context. Interesting.
which gets you better clients, which gets you better collaborators, like people who are coming to you not from a deficit where like you are trying to milk them for some amount of money or something, which it's easy. You can easily do this. But how do you find people for whom working with them is going to increase the quality of your practice, increase the quality of their business or their endeavor? 1 second.
Garbage day.
Like we talked about in a, well, I'm gonna move the conversation towards a completely different
Yeah, go.
We talked about, we had a chat, Dave and I, on Telegram, where yeah, and I'm like,
I was kind of watching. I was in Florida with my family, and so I was trying to explain to my mom and grandma. I was like, because you're part of our life, so I wanted to tell them like, oh, so there's this guy Farzad. So I'm like telling them about like sort of your past and like what is happening and how you guys are talking. They were very interested. They were like, well, this is interesting. And I was like, it is very interesting.
and community has been on top of our minds or top of my mind for a long time, just to get back to the simpler times, because there was something in the past that made it very easy to market through jobs by just sharing the work. And it was so easy because Dribble was kind of an invite only place. It was very small, world felt very, very close. And you felt just good about sharing the in progress work, and you finally have a place where people are as weird as you are about very weird details in the design. Then we talked about how you need to kind of make your own party when it comes to marketing and invite people to it and go knocking on the doors. Can we do something for you? And design community has always been on top, and we just never and I keep telling Griffith, like, man, can we build something? It wouldn't be that difficult to build the dribble and then just keep it that way. Like the same thing that happens with products. A product comes to life, it's amazing in the beginning, it lacks features, and then you hit that sweet spot, and then you miss it. You add more features, and now it's a bloated thing, and then somebody gonna come and do the thing again. And from a simple conversation, they started asking a bunch of stuff. So I'm like, this is it, I'm not happy, or whatever that conversation was. And he's like, yeah, but I think 10 minutes, it took us 10 minutes to go, here it is, it works. This is it, this is the idea. And wait, the conversation is super interesting. It wasn't even about designers in the beginning. It was about sincere. So we were talking about, it's very difficult to make founders to share their work, and then we want to kind of direct this towards founders, and they're not sharing. And then how do you get them to talk? What are the stakes? And we like unlock those hard-learned lessons. What is locking them up? So it's very simple conversations, and it almost feels like you kind of are talking to yourself, because just like it flows really well. So you go, sharing with your peers don't put you out of your business, it puts you in the business, things like that, with transparency. Then he's like, keep thinking about fundamentals. I'm like, fuck, fear of transparency. Where they are doing the wrong thing. But the truth is we all are. And he goes, what games can help them work with this fear? And they share one thing at a time. What other constraints? And I go, there needs to be a habit of sharing, blah, blah. What stakes if they don't post? I'm like, 3 strikes. He's like, blunt, fear-based. I'm like, bad. He's like, yeah, less optimal than something positive. I'm like, with others. He's like, bingo. And then done. That become the thing that probably evens the kind of the stakes in communities. You need to participate to be part of. You kind of need to do something. And like, great, this is the design community. It doesn't even have to do with sincere. What if we build this? And then Dave goes, I don't know, something.
Go nuts.
Help them become their best selves. Yep. Great. And I think they wanted to complicate things. And
Probably.
I'm like, man, we can't just have this built in 3 days. Like, we have it now, right? We built it. It's done. It's with Twitter login. We have the thing now.
Yeah.
And now we have it. Let's just get it out to people and then test it how it works. So 2 things that came along. So we came up with waste space, like how the idea of things go to waste, let's not waste them. Waste space, and then the other thing, a design community, and the third thing, you need to, there's a timer involved. So let me show you. So I went on Twitter, asked for people who, because we are looking for an engineer, for a 3rd engineer to join OFC. And we found this guy, Gustav from Stockholm. He made this amazing replica of the early Mac book, Mac
OS. Okay.
Yeah, Mac OS. Where you have the trash can and everything.
Yep,
And it had a camera, you could take a selfie. There's a chat in there. I'm like, beautiful.
That's
like
cool.
This type of thing. Yeah. And I had a design from the past. It was called Table, and I'm like, great. I just take that and I put a timer to it. Holy shit. And this is how it is now. Let me share my screen. How do I share screen? Yeah, can I
have to give you. Yep.
Yeah.
Oops, what? Now it's trying to share my screen.
I like how Figma kind of nudged people into, now you need to pay us a lot to continue using the app.
That's
did
how it
that
works.
happen?
Yeah, so they launched a thing called jam something, which is
Yeah.
whiteboarding, and
Big
we never
jam.
whiteboarded in our whole life, so we don't know how that thing even works. When people whiteboard ideas, oh, there is a whiteboard here in Zoom too. Like, who are these people? Are you guys whiteboarding ideas, or are we the weirdos?
We're gonna actually start doing this. Like, yeah. I mean, I have in the past. Like, I think it's useful in certain things, but yeah, we can go over that later.
Yeah. So we call this waste space just WS, and then we like, all right, a better place for designers to connect. We invite only a handful of creators per month to join. Tweet, I want in white space, and then you tag it, and that's how the thing is, and then email and password and enter. And this is basically it. You just drop a shot. Shots are coded based on the numbers. So this is the second shot ever created. This is the this is a list of people. So the first person gets number one. There is no following. Everybody follows each other, I guess. There is like a one page and everybody joins in. This shows, this is the indicator of how many hours you have left. Once that hits 0, you are not able to see any posts. And you need to upload to see. So we hired this guy and we build it. And this is how it looks. Wait, where is Safari? There is Safari. Jesus.
How long did it take him to build?
3 days.
That's pretty good. And did you find him on Twitter? You said you tweeted out.
Yeah, yeah, it's not the best strategy in place for hiring great people, but so far it's been working.
Seems like it works fine.
Here it is. His name is Gustav Larsson, and he made this app called Zettel. Zettel.pub. It's a publishing platform, so he just used it to build the thing for us.
Oh yeah, he's adjacent to the stuff that we're doing. Cool.
Yeah. Do you guys know him, or?
I don't know. We may be following each other. I'm not sure, but he's sort of hanging out in the world of the stuff that we're playing with, like sort of knowledge management, these games, this kind of stuff. Like that Zettel thing is based on what seems like it's a markdown thing based on the concept of Zettelkasten, which is like a note-taking system. We were talking about this before. And then this Andy Matuszek guy is like a former Apple guy who's been working on this knowledge management stuff. So we're playing in the same territory. So cool.
Yeah, he's definitely an interesting person.
Yeah, there might be, I mean, we may want to collaborate with him. We'll show him what we're doing at some point. But yeah, cool.
Sounds good. What is this? All right, yeah, so this is live, the thing. So if you have an invite code, you just enter it and you log in with Twitter.
Yep.
Here's how things look like.
Nice.
So we are turning 12 hours to 30 minutes just to get people to upload a couple of times. It's just gonna be 5 people. This is the admin tool of the app. And let me refresh to see what's new. So I'm hitting 0. I'm not able to see anything because the timer is now at 30. So I go upload and I take, oh, okay. No, I still have 11. Oh yeah, this is still 12 hours. So these are the images. Because I'm admin, I can actually delete this, and I can grant people some invite codes or delete them. And this is pretty much it. So if I just upload an image, so I'll upload this. It's uploading. I'm on 12 hours. I'm on 11 hours. This looks good. I posted, posted. I got 12. And I have 12 hours to view other people's shots.
Okay.
And that's it.
So is it okay, is the shared context like every 12 hours it resets? How does that work?
No, it's just based on what you upload, I think.
Well, yeah, so
it's like a bank.
Yeah, so you get 12 hours to view the feed when you upload, right? 12 hours is ridiculous amount of time. So we're gonna bring it down to 30 or 20 minutes.
Sure. Yeah.
Uh, then you get
So,
access to the feed
okay.
that everybody are kind of contributing to.
Mm-hmm.
If you come back, your time already has run out. You need to upload something to see what other people have posted. That's it.
Okay. All right. So yeah. Okay. So it's a pay to play. Got a thing. Yeah. Like proof of play is the concept that we were sort of calling this kind of thing. Interesting. Okay.
What's the scope of like what are people uploading?
These are designers, so they're only uploading kind of work in progress things that are working on this very simple, small screenshot of whatever it is
Mm-hmm.
that they are doing.
Cool. Yeah, I'm curious to see what happens. Like, because there are a couple like different dynamics here. Like you could section them off into like a daily thing where like you have a daily counter or some. This one is more feed based, so you could get a lot of stuff coming through it. Like, and I like the barrier to entry on a feed is you having to produce something that is connected to your identity. Like that gameplay dynamic is rad. I was thinking about it in different terms, but it's cool. So yeah, cool. I'm stoked to see what they add to this thing and who likes playing it.
Yeah. So I think with these things, it's just the first 5, 6 people that we are onboarding, who they
Mm-hmm.
are gonna shape the entire thing.
Yeah.
So I'm just going through people that I know who would I like to see what they are working on and would they do it?
Yeah.
And then see how it goes from here.
So here's a good distinction. When I was talking to you about this idea, the way I was thinking about it, because I've been thinking about this black box idea, is that like, and this is how we've been playing these kinds of things, is everybody puts in their work for some period of time. So call it 24 hours, right? Or 12 hours, right? And the work is then, it's not viewable until like it's not viewable like, yeah, how was I thinking about this? Oh, until you have an unboxing, right? And the unboxing is an event, effectively. So, like, you have a deadline of 12 hours to submit your piece. And if you don't submit your piece, you don't get to see the unboxing. If you do, you do. And then it's an event that doesn't see like what everybody is making. So this is just a different game dynamic. It's cool. Like yeah, so that it just produces different gameplay, but it's a similar kind of yeah, I like it. I just like the distinction between models.
Mm.
Yeah. So where are you at with it now? Like you're recruiting
Now
to
we are
find the
just
early players.
yeah, exactly. So
Cool.
we have we just made a kind of a things and
Mm-hmm.
this is now 0. So this is live. We're gonna ask a couple of people to join in
Mm-hmm.
and we're gonna start sharing. Just before that, we were talking about how ridiculously kind of time or what would the time constraint be?
Mm-hmm.
We had it 24 hours, but then that's not good enough. We want people to return to the thing a
Yeah.
couple of times a day to get it on top of their mind. So now we are at 30 minutes and we're probably gonna lower it to make it very, very active feed where
Hmm.
people are just can't wait to see what other people on the app are currently working on. So they just
Yeah. You might need a. I'm curious to see if you're going to need a second game mechanic for that. Like, yeah, this will be fun. Cool. I think talk about, like, I think this is a good thing to record. Like, as you launch each iteration, like, here's what we're thinking about with the game mechanic. Here's the launch. Here's what we're seeing, and here's how we're changing
Yeah.
it. Like, this is a good. I think this is a good thing to record, because it's going to develop pretty rapidly. And sharing, like, in a blog or however, you know, the video aspect of this gives you it's a show. You're like, this is how we're playing the game. This is,
Yeah.
and then here's the behind the scenes on the game. I think that'd be a good addition to this. It'll make it come alive for people. Plus, like, in those videos, you can sort of feature the work that you like, you know, and like the stuff that's like really cool, or like new memes that are popping up, this kind of thing. This is the entertainment teaching layer that we were talking about.
What do they say? It's the people that make the home, not the house. That's
Mhm.
a
Yep.
saying. It's the same thing with communities. So we have this
Oh,
very
totally.
simple frame
Yep.
Mhm.
of things. Now we just need to see who are the first couple of people that we are inviting.
Yep. You'll know soon. It's cool. I have no more thoughts on this. I want to see where it goes. Yeah, I do
don't
like
know.
the
I mean, am I sharing my whole screen or just Safari?
Just
Safari.
Let me show you something. There is just so many things that we are pushing to into dev this week. Let me show you some. We've been talking about this on each call, so we should probably look at them. Complement the magazine is very interesting. Then we have the in and. All right, so the blogging thing, we're pushing that out. We've been testing it internally for some time now.
Mhm.
And we have, this is the MVP that we made. We built it, and then we started doing posts. Now we have the beta finished. This is basically how it looks. It's called Sincere. We have the feed, post, people, explore. These are the posts coming out of people that you're following. And the only difference is that instead of network owning your followers, you are owning the list yourself. So people are leaving their email addresses to subscribe to a blog. And if you are unsincere and following a blog, we give you the email. So we're kind of compiling an email list for you that you can bring anywhere you want. On Explore, we are featuring people that are on the platform writing about their stories. And in the beginning, we are just onboarding founders. When they are writing about the thing, they have the option to post it as a blog post or post it as a email or both. So they can actually send this as an email to their emailing list, and or they can just put it on their blog. So this is Sincere, the blogging thing.
Yep.
This is OFC's marketing website. It's as naked as it possibly can get.
Mhm.
The new ugly, I mean, the ugly is a new beautiful, or however you say it. So there is no, it's just a one font size across the whole thing other than titles. And all of our apps now are 2 font sizes and 2 colors. So this is it. This is the roadmap stuff that's gonna go live. And Griffith been writing about a nice about page, first time ever.
Cool.
This is the new roadmap. I don't know if you guys ever seen roadmap, but
poked around. I haven't.
Yeah, so we are releasing this instead. This is the first redesign after our release 4 years ago.
Yeah.
We designed a navigation system here. So you are basically, you only have 2 day schedule, stream, which is notifications, and workspace.
Hmm.
It's as opinionated of a project management tool as you can possibly get.
Hmm.
Um, you can see what people are working on. This is basically how we've been able to run a remote company.
Hmm.
We made a magazine for the marketing agency. This is actually very interesting. The same model that we are doing with ventures, we are doing it for influencers. And the idea is we have the network and we have the design and branding experience. So we have these influencers in-house, and we have the branding and design know-how. So we can help influencers to see what their product should be, and we have the contacts to actually make that product, from
Hmm.
designing it to executing it and then launching it. And they would just be the marketing person of it. And that's a startup studio for influencers, meaning we own part of their companies, ideally around 30%.
Luca's in there.
Yeah, he's working. um, So we have this logo of Complement that kind of changes shape
Hmm.
all the time, kind of showing all forms and shapes or whatever is. It's beautiful. Complement board. The magazine looked like something like this. We're actually gonna interview where we have it. We're gonna interview influencers. We're gonna interview like people that are interesting to know in Thailand, places that are interesting to visit, and products that are interesting to check out, try.
Hmm.
Um, this is the cover, and this is the actual blog. Um, so we are posting these stories live. Once we have 3 pieces for people, 3 for product, and 3 for places, we're gonna print the thing and publish it as a magazine.
Cool.
Which looks like this. Then we have Inan, which is the startup studio thing. And today it looks like this. And we are shipping this Monday. So
Nice.
team only building it. And I'm waiting for the images to load. Wow, is my internet that slow?
I guess so.
It's a lot of stuff.
It's a lot of stuff. Yeah. Oh, maybe Compliments killing it. Yeah, whoops, there we go. So super random logos for each thing. So we have the studio thing, news thing, careers thing. We thought the best way to just coming into the tech scene here in Thailand is to learn about it. So we're talking with startups and agencies here and covering them with the goal of becoming kind of the place where you are reading about the tech news in Thailand in a very kind of entertaining way. This will be the blog. And to make it easier for companies to hire better talent, we're posting this job board, which is basically a curated list of jobs that we believe are good. We are charging companies to post here, of course. And by using the current job board and then the news, we're kind of making the landscape to
Start a scene.
Needed. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, I'm curious. The this is just a random question. Like this, like graphic style in Thailand. Like, is there like how does it land? Is there other stuff that looks like this? Because it's a pretty like, I mean, everything's global now, but
it's a pretty what?
it's like pretty. It's like a lot of Berlin and New York is where this stuff is coming out of. Like, and that, you know, I just haven't.
This is a tech magazine in Thailand. I mean, tech
Yeah. So it's pretty
website.
corporate and like,
Really corporate.
yeah, I was curious about that. Yeah. Okay.
So
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see
design
how
is
this.
very behind. Yeah.
Yep.
Well, people might eat it up because it's
Yeah, I'm,
fresh.
you know, or the people who are attuned to that style will, for sure. And then the people who might not be able to see what it is otherwise. Okay, yeah, it's got
This
the,
is so, yeah, like
yep.
pop-ups all over the place,
Yep.
overloaded with options.
Oh my gosh,
Hmm.
yes.
This is the Amazon of Thailand,
Yeah,
or yeah,
a
I
lot
guess
of
Amazon.
the Chinese stuff is this way too. It's like crazy
Yeah,
dense. Yep.
but then they say it's been A/B tested, it delivers, and it converts the best. But the truth is, there are no designers in here.
Yeah.
So the products and solutions
Yeah.
that are designed,
I just couldn't believe that this would be the best way to lay something out because it's overwhelming. Like
There's a
people are
cultural
buying things they
difference
don't
here.
want, yeah, or need.
I remember talking to a couple people about this, about like the density of designs in China, because I didn't understand how you could scan them.
Yeah,
Um, there's just a different like usage of space, even in the newspapers and stuff like this. Who was, I think Greg Kim had some understanding of this.
interesting.
Yeah, it's just a cultural like language differentiator, because like
Yep.
I think it has something to do with the way the Chinese characters work as well, like in the visual understanding of information is different than the Western alphabetic understanding. So there's something in that. I haven't
Yep.
studied it enough to know.
How they read the screen. Yep.
I'm still
Yeah.
in this though, because we work with a couple of, not enough to form an opinion, but
Yeah.
a couple of Southeast Asian based companies.
Yep.
And there is a pattern, or there is a certain style among all of them, but that's just a lack of.
Yeah, it hasn't been developed yet.
Not yet. So this is
Yeah.
Pomelo. This is the new thing, that the hot thing, which is going against any other startup that has been kind of started here. So it's very, very trendy design, like what you would expect from other brands.
Yeah.
And this is the hottest startup in here now.
Interesting.
Design is,
It's coming online there, like the sort of
it should,
Western graphic design styles. Yeah.
yeah, beautiful shop. Navigation makes sense.
Yep.
And yeah, so because we had that conversation internally too, like we'll
Yeah.
people here, that based on the places that are visiting, like Line is their favorite app, and Shopee is where they go shop, and their news websites is just bombarded with a bunch of information all at once. What happens if you take everything away and then let them focus on one thing? Would that be something like, oh, what is this? So I'm keen to see how that goes, because there are a lot of new designy places popping up, like coffee shops, co-working spaces. So they are on that path. But yeah, we'll see. I mean, we are putting these things online. I'm just keen to see if the money from the job board, and if you actually can make a profile. There are a bunch of Facebook communities here where people saying, I'm looking for a job, and some of them are, most of them are very, very good, talented people. Just gonna hire somebody to go through all of these communities, curate the best people, and then we feature them on a place. And just connecting them should bring us enough money to not actually raise the money for and maybe do the first concept of the product ourselves. We fund it ourselves, create MVP, and just maybe raise for that idea instead of raise for the studio.
Okay.
So that's the goal.
All of it sounds good. So much shit, man.
I know you're doing so much. It looks good though.
Yeah. I mean, where I've got no feedback other than I am curious about I'm curious about the styles and how they land in different cultures and
Yeah.
like how you'll have to adapt around that stuff.
Yeah, it's
It'll be cool
interesting.
though, because if you can find a hybrid style that works, right? You're pulling in from the graphic design thing, and then there might be something that tugs on it. You might end up in something that people haven't seen before, which is it's nice. I like the, and then you're out ahead of producing that style. So yeah.
We taking a bet on it because this was
Yeah.
actually what we wanted to go with in the beginning, which is very safe play, but then we wanted to have something that actually turned heads. We went super safe with this.
Yeah. Yeah, I think
So
over the top is better because like they're coming from such a visually like stimulating like the audience is.
yeah,
So moving towards something that takes more risks is I think good. It's good. It's more fun anyway.
yeah. So and then this is cool. As part of just showcasing that compliment works, here's an influencer brand. This is called Marviaka. So we made the branding, and this is how it looks. And we hired an 3D artist to. This is a basically satin weight. Let me show you actually the thing. This is satin clothing. Luxurious kind of brand.
Yeah.
Kind of affordable. Handcrafted here in Thailand. We're trying to build a very premium brand that can actually be shipped elsewhere. And here's the branding work that we did. So this kind of is the M and is a satin and kind
it's
of
good.
the shape.
It's a good mark.
Yeah, it works.
Yep.
And some ideas for the products and how it would be used on things. And then we hired a 3D artist, which he does amazing work, and to do this, which we got today, which is the video in the background.
Oh, nice.
Very cool.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Doing the whole thing, manufacturing brands.
Wasting all that money.
It's fun though. I mean,
wait, how did you get involved? Oh, so this is a client.
No, it's the compliment stuff, and
got it. Cool, very cool.
M is an influencer here in Thailand. So, and then just like how the design community is, all designers know each other, kind of all of the good ones. Same thing with influencers, but that's the kind of the best network to tap into because they are running things. We think we do, but they are because they actually influence they influence all customers, regardless of what it does with their branding. Yeah,
it's what advertising is now. Like people don't care about your advertising. They care about other people telling them that they like trust for whatever reason.
Yeah, how they've experienced and used a product. Yep.
Yeah.
Definitely. Or
how they're saying they experienced and use a product.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean now trust comes, and it was so from the beginning. You go look at a thing on a shop on a website, and then you go immediately to YouTube to check reviews, and that's just how our decisions are made to buy things. And influencers are doing like same things with music, with any of these entertainment things that we are using or consuming. You're hearing names or brands in the music or you see them in movies. They're all part of it. None of them just happen to be happy customers of the brand or whatever. And this is the in and random logos. They are so abstract, coming from the idea of just those. What is it like? The wood blocks that you would. Yeah. Yeah.
Here. That's cool.
Here are some random shapes. I like that message.
I mean, it takes me back. I used to love this stuff. I used to play with it all the time, and like, you can actually ship all of these things and actually get them printed and build these brands nowadays. It's cool.
Mm.
Where it used to be a pain in the ass before. Like,
Yeah, it's easier now.
yeah. Well, the level of quality that you can get, because there are all these technicians out there who can work in design styles that are like pretty high end. Um, yeah, there didn't used to be as many people who could do this level of quality of work. They were all locked up in agencies and stuff, but now the freelancing talent is everywhere, so it's
Yep.
cool. And so then if you can, then it's about coming up with ideas to package like you're doing right now, and then
Yep.
being able to coordinate everything to have it spit out into something that's legible. So yeah, it's fun.
Yeah, it is fun. It's fun. Publications are always fun. I've always liked
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Bundle it all up. So you're actually printing it, like on paper.
Yeah, so
What kind of paper? Is it going to be glossy, matte? Like what's the...
yeah, glossy papers. I mean, things like that are very much doable here. I wouldn't
Yeah.
dream of it in Sweden.
Yeah, it would cost a ton.
Yeah, it wouldn't be worth it, but we are giving
No.
away the magazine here. It's just a way
Yeah,
of
yeah.
marketing. And then we're gonna print 100 t-shirts with compliments on them.
Mm.
Big text, and then what we believe, like our beliefs in the back, like
Okay.
what marketing should be, and we are giving it away to homeless people in Bangkok. So we are just distributing free clothing to
Ridiculous.
all people, yeah, around our office. So everybody, and there are so many homeless people here,
Mm.
to
Are
wear
there?
wear the
Interesting.
clothing. And instead of
Yep.
doing the marketing event that we had in mind to invite these brands and influencers to throw something fancy, we are taking part of the profit, and we are doing food and drinks and clothing for people that actually need it. And that's how we're
Mhm.
gonna market the thing. And then a magazine is going to help us to put our name out there,
Mhm.
and hopefully connect us to the kind of superstars here in Thailand to kind of contribute to the good that we are doing, and then from there kind of align people what real marketing is.
What's the timeline on all this?
We're starting the stories, publishing the stories for the website at least. Once the website hits 9 stories, we're gonna print it out. So
Okay.
we are on 9 stories per month. We share them as soon as we have them on the website. Then we're gonna print it out and then distribute it to some to influencers to give away, and some to cool places that we featured.
Yeah.
And share the story. And we just rented a place for the office. It's like a 3-floor building
Oh
in
wow.
Bangkok. It's kind of being renovated. It should be done in 3 weeks. Once we move in, we're gonna throw the party and then do the t-shirts and all of the good stuff, and have the newspapers here to write about it.
Well, 3 conversations from now we'll know. It's so
Yeah.
fast. Cool.
So you have to go back. You can't live in the resort forever.
No.
Well, I've been thinking about it. So it will be, I mean, the office will be where the place gonna be, but I've
Yeah.
never been able to function in a place that
Hmm.
is meant to be a working place. If I want to work, I go there. That doesn't work for me. I tend to not work if I go to a place that I'm supposed to do a certain thing. I do everything other than that thing that the place is designed for.
Hmm.
So
That's why you're doing your best work at a resort.
Exactly. It's a hack.
It's supposed to be relaxing.
Yeah.
Go to the
Don't
office,
ever use
get the massage.
a space for what its intended purpose is. So I like that.
Anti-design.
Yep. All right, I'm real wiped out right now. We've had like a pretty busy week, so I think we should call it. Or unless you guys want to keep talking, but I'm just gonna sit here because I'm falling apart. This is good though. I think we got into some interesting stuff. So
yeah.
More projects in the works. Yeah.
somewhere, sometime down the road, all will connect.
Mm-hmm.
Or
Well, it's
it
all
was
connected already. You just can't
funny.
see the connections yet.
Yeah, it's all coming together. It has to be implemented now. And then, yeah, when things start getting in motion, especially with complement, like, I don't know, then all kinds of interesting things I think will come out of the woodwork, as they say.
Mm-hmm.
I think the force that I'm applying to myself is just hiring full-time people on each.
Mm-hmm.
So Complement has 3 full-time people. Inan has 2 now, soon 3, a content writer. And just getting them not be bored, we need to move this forward.
Yeah. If you get some momentum going, and then there's like a cycle coming in where people are excited, and then you start pushing into the production. Yeah, you know, it'll start running itself. But yeah, getting it going though, getting the fuel in the engine.
That's the hard part.
Yep, getting it off the ground. Yeah. Cool.
Yeah, I'm tired too. It's weird. Like, there's so much new stuff going on, like how easily that will drain. I find it interesting. So I feel like I'm not doing a lot, but then it catches up to me. And I'm like, why am I exhausted?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we're just pushing into a lot of new territory, and like personally, I'm playing with a lot of ideas that are at a level of complexity that I'm not used to, like that are covering a lot of ground, and then trying to figure out ways to communicate that complexity. And it's a lot of having to talk to people, for whom I don't really know what I'm talking about, and the only way to understand is to talk to people and be confused until I'm not, which,
Yeah.
that's nerve-wracking, but getting used to it.
What is it about?
It's more of the stuff we've been talking about, like sort of. I think we have like a sort of. It's playing with the Web3 model of building, like a general like company structure that's not a company. It's like a community structure where you're providing a sort of problem space for people to play in, and then like I guess it's a like an incentive structure so that people it's open, right? And what we're doing is basically giving the like defining the problem space. That's our role in the thing to the degree that we have a role. And like specifically, it's like that it's a protocol for like the kind of thing that we did with that game, the design game, right? Like styles of thinking about design and building that are more game centric. Instead of apps, you have games. So like instead of work, you are playing, but you get the same sort of results. And so a set of primitives and like, one of the things we're working on is like sort of a, like call it like an operating system based on like relationships. It's natively collective from the start and, this kind of stuff. So, but the bounds of it we're trying to wrap into like a paper and like and then we're working with a few engineers and stuff on like how to think about the technology at all. So like a lot of it is it's so new and uncertain, like based on technologies that are moving now, that we have to figure out tooling on how to even see what we're talking about doing. So, and I'm having to like we're all having to, the way I like to think about it now is that like we're using the tool of design fiction to try and to keep ourselves relaxed enough to be able to find a pattern in the world so that we can build it. So like, playing with what is plausible with the existing like new technologies, and then what that affords in like sort of collective sense making stuff. There you go. I don't have the language yet. That's where I'm at. But yeah, there's
the stuff we were talking about in the beginning. Like if you come together with a group of people in a way that is intentionally like open and looking at what you're doing, like self-aware, how would you build technology to help people do that?
Yeah.
Which is not straightforward because tech doesn't really lend itself to that easily. Like you have to think about it a little bit different, and that's what's challenging, I think, and what's draining is it's a new way of looking at not just digital technology, but the technology of collaboration, like what tools, like what methods. And then, if you do find things that work and you've cobbled them together through existing technology tools, how do you then build that with the new technology that is just starting to emerge? So there's a lot of facets of it. But we're not in a rush with it. So, but
no,
it is hard because it's hard to talk about because it feels new. Like the language is new, the concepts are new, the technology is new. And I mean, I personally don't understand it at depth, any of the technological back end of it. So I'm looking forward to getting a better sort of grounding in that, but which will only happen once we start building it. So it's similar to what you're doing, Farzad, where there's like a lot, you're way further ahead, but having a bunch of plates spinning, and then once they all start spinning, something like emerges from that, and you're just like, oh, I can see it now. Like, whereas like before, you kind of have a feel like you're like, something's gonna happen. I think it might be this, but then inevitably it's not that, it's something else, and then everything else shifts because of it. So
yeah, the scary part.
No, and that's another thing. I freak myself out with the scope of the thing half the time, because like I end up with these, because I'm doing a lot of vision work right now, which means like going out into plausible futures and then sort of writing, like sketching. I have to come up with new methods of like trying to capture this style of design. And there's a side project, which is like coming up with borrowing from a lot of work that's being done, like a sort of philosophy for designing in this way. So like how to think about designing in this way before you can even start. And then if I have this philosophy and then finding collaborators who can also think in this way. So there's a lot of like foundational work going on, but it's the most fun thing to do. I can't stop. So that's part of the problem. I can't stop, and I start wearing myself out and like get out ahead of everybody, and then there's nobody to talk to about it. And it's so I'm having to pace myself and all that. So I'm getting better at it.
That's a good thing to learn.
For me, I just start new things to break things, to kind of break and then not go overexcite myself about things that I'm interested in.
I used to do this. and then I burned myself out, so I can't keep doing it. There's like my policy now is like learning patience with it, letting it sit, waiting for it'll show up, like it's probably just having conversations with people who are interested in like parallel things, and then you get an overlap because it's this perspective thing. Like basically we're building, like ideally as a set of tools or a protocol for a set of tools that allows for like multi-perspectival, like multiple perspectives in media, right? So like and then the ability to like understand the relationships between these media as an information layer that you can manipulate. So like how money is becoming informational now, like all the crypto stuff and this kind of thing. Like the actual manipulation of information and understanding things that you can't currently see is where value is, and being able to move through giant abundant fields of information so that you can scope it down into something that is legible. I mean, yeah, so there is where I mean, we're all sort of massively interested, but I think if you can start creating design patterns and flows and this kind of thing there, like you can do like amazing shit. So
Yeah, it is heavy.
I imagine this is what it was like when people were inventing operating systems and like early interfaces and stuff. Like, you just don't know what you don't know. And it'll seem absolutely obvious later. Like, oh yeah, you just do that.
Yeah, I kind of realized the thing, like, it would do more damage to jump into the design too early than actually
Yes.
helping it progress, because it's so easy to limit it.
Yeah.
Because I don't think MVP works for this.
Exactly.
I'm figuring out styles of like sketching and then showing this, like Kristen and I did this. I have these big sketchbook and like I go and I make all these notes and connect it, and then she goes and interprets it and adds an annotation layer, and that's giving us structure that we can play with to put into a paper so that we can share it, you know, that we're all in abstract.
Which helps us talk about it, because
Yeah.
I'll organize the information differently than he will, and then he's like, why did you do it like that? And I'm like, well, because these things fit together like this in my mind. And he's like, okay, I can see that. So it's just a lot of back and forth, back and forth, back and forth.
I mean, and it's like however many steps until we can bring designers in, and then it gets really fucking fun. Because if we have these flows, then people get to play with like new representations. Like I have, there's a layer here that's like, I'm calling it like a relational UI. And like it's, you take an object here and you take an object here, and like you have a canvas, and you know, or the object here is somewhere out in the information stream, and like you're selecting an object, and then there's a context menu that gives you an overlay of how it can relate to the rest of the world. And so you have a bunch of operations and like portals and stuff, and then you are creating like these relationships, and then a querying layer so that you can navigate these relationships to find things you couldn't find. And so there's a visualization of this, and it's not much different than what we have now, but it's fundamentally different in how you move through it. So like if everything in Figma was connected to everything else, and then that information was filterable and queryable and like this kind of thing. But if you take that and you expand it out to larger information sets with closed groups that are working on these kinds of things, I don't know. There's, yeah, again, all this is visual. It doesn't make any sense yet.
There is this startup. We worked with this entrepreneur who made Sparrow, the emo client. Went to work with Google for a few years, comes out, does Steward, which becomes a unicorn, sells it or exited or don't know what. Touches on a couple of experiments and come back and it's like, I'm going to reinvent browsers. We talk about the idea a couple of times, and 3 jobs get hired to do the concepts. It's so interesting because we needed to kind of come up. Problem is you are consuming content and then you have the notes. So you are browsing stuff on web and then you have your notes here. They are not connected together. And this Roam research app kind of blew everybody's mind into, things can actually be connected, and everybody are just building that for whatever. Like it was Google for whatever, now Roam research for whatever. And for this one, it was, you are just typing, writing about things, but then you can suddenly searching for things. And once you are searching, what you take notes will be, it will just, the outcome of the product will just be a text format that you are writing it / a mood board. You can drop images into it, and where you are kind of closing it and starting a new session. So it's just session based. And if you go back your history is just links that you've visited. But for him,
Yep.
if you back to that story, like, all right, I'm talking, I want to have more research. You can see your focus is kind of getting sidelined,
Yep.
and then you
Yep.
bring it back. All great. So we really hitting a point with software where we are evolving what's already broken. So we need to go back and start from the start.
Yeah,
Absolutely that. Yep.
It's very heavy.
Mm-hmm.
yeah, it's
What else are you gonna do?
It's
Best stuff.
foundational work.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's exhausting because, like, you know, you have to, like, I'm having to study philosophy to understand how
What you're
to
doing.
understand what I'm doing.
Yep.
Because I'm like, okay, how, you know, because you have to create new language to talk about this stuff, and then to sense into, like, so what you just described is it's another piece in this big, there's a bunch of people working on this kind of thing. We're just sort of doing our take. And I think the like doing this as a company doesn't make any sense. You need to do this in the open. So like figuring out ways to like create collaborative environments where people can iterate and like the internet works. This thing should work like the internet works. Like you should be able to have groups of people who are interested in playing in these areas. You don't have to hire them, but you do need to incent them to work on the thing, right? So this is where the sort of the Web3 like incentive structures, distributed computer thing can like make this possible, because there's no way a small team could probably pull anything like this off. All you can do is like bring sort of the general pattern to awareness, and then help organize people into building the thing out or something. I don't know. Yeah, I'm really wiped out now.
I'm just gonna share this link, something to look at.
Yeah.
But with these things, because you're touching on a lot of new ways of looking at the same thing that you've been looking at
Exactly.
for remember. You need other people's perspective, and internet is such a great place for it. So you need a name for this, and then you start writing about it, and more people will come and help you
Exactly.
figure out what that is. And there are so many people that are coming up with new things, usually a hobby thing, and then they start writing about it on a blog. There are two things that might not even be remotely connected, but in my mind is this guy.
Sure.
I'm dropping it in Telegram. Crap. How do I? All right. So definitely, I think we've been talking about how transparently sharing whatever we are doing, and I think this deserves a place or a blog where you are writing about it. There is one, which is this one. You've probably seen this. These guys are pretty loud. That is just one guy talking about, wait, where is it? I like this part. Dropping as an image. Wow, Telegram is such a beautiful app. I mean, I have to say, best iOS I've used. So this part of it, I never went on and, to continue reading everything that he wrote, but I think you might find it interesting.
Sure.
And the second thing is this and their approach to it. And I imagine it started as a simple blog.
Oh yeah, Urbit. Yep. Yeah, this is what we're basically playing in this arena and trying to understand the best way to be effective with this mindset, right? So like these projects, like I'm sort of studying the history of how Ethereum formed, how they self-organize, like how the collective works. It's a self-organizing collective intelligence is the way people term it. And so there are constraints and like rule. It's gaming, right? Like it's a big game that people can collaborate in and then be incentivized to collaborate in. So like being able to design with that mentality in mind is how things are going to be designed. And this is so coming up with like sort of an ethical approach that like is in alignment with the way that I would want to do business and operate with people is one of the foundational things that I'm trying to figure out, so that like I can express that. And if there are other designers, and designers being like, so the style of design in this new realm is civilization design. You think about governance and economy and like movement of resource, all of these kinds of things, because now you can operate over a large swath of territory. It's not just making an application work, right? It's like, how are the people going to interact with each other? How are they going to exchange value? The smart contracting layer gives ability for them to figure out how they're going to, there's all this stuff. So civilization design. And then so if you are designing in a civilizational design ideal, like what is the ethos? Like how collective is it? How independent is it? What is the combination between those kinds of things? And the type of foundation that you build will produce software and experiences that are good or bad or, on some spectrum for different types of solutions, right? So like if you have like an environmentally conscious operating system, it's going to be different than one that is like extremely financially conscious, right? So you can play with these this is where design gets fucking bonkers. It's cool. Mm-hmm.
I just linked up Daniel Schmachtenberger civilization design, and I'm laughing because the metadata, the image is a photo of him, like a portrait. I'm like, why would you do that?
Yeah, they're not.
Like it's in Telegram. It's just funny because it like I drop that in,
yeah.
and it's like a really cool like concept, and like his blog is interesting. Like the design of his blog is fine, and like he's got good images, and then that's what comes up. I'm like, cool.
It's the thing that they're not good at, most of these companies and people, like because they come from
like academia, yeah,
academia sometimes and
adjacent,
sort of
yep,
adjacent things,
yep, knowledge stuff.
Mm-hmm.
All right, we calling it?
We're calling it.
Okay.
We'll pick it up next time. All right. Well, look forward to seeing what insanity
what happens in
has
a week.
happened in the next week. Life comes at you fast. All right. Cool, man.
All right.
Later, dude.
Later.
Bye.
Bye.